Okay.
Okay.
I'm audible, guys? Just give me a moment. Cool. So let's get started, guys. I hope you guys have joined. Any others being coming up, please let me know. So before taking a session, just wanted you guys to know, which language you prefer while taking a session, like Hindi, English, or mix of it. Whichever you will be comfortable, let me know beforehand. Guys, you can write in the chat or you can unmute at any point of time. Don't worry. Anyone? Only English? Okay. Cool. So let's start it with a basic understanding of what data analytics is and how we perform some major things on it. So we have to start with our industry experience, like how things works in an industry. So always you need to work on a raw data. Like you have been given a raw data which might be unclean, which might be having so much dirty in it. And it can be defined in this way. Like when we say raw data, it would be having some path. I'm just wanted to define some path where raw data basically means having missing values. Your data would not be having much values on it. There are a lot of missing values. Then we have something like we need to find the missing values. We have so many redundant data. We call it as duplicate data. Okay. And there is some columns that are having 2, 3 informations in it, which we can recover it with the help of split text to column. So this is something that we need to work on. And there are many things like issues in terms of replacing a values, issues in terms of having a column which represents some categorical data but needs to be coming up with numerical data. So the major issues being coming is with the raw data. So being an analyst, we wanted to start working on converting the raw data into some meaningful content. What do you mean by meaningful way? Whenever I want this raw data, I would love to convert this raw data something meaningful. That means for a time being, I'm just saying like meaningful means it should be having a clean data. With clean data, we can perform a lot of things. But first and the foremost thing that you need to understand is how we can convert this raw data into clean data. So here the process we use is transformation, and it depends on system to system, like whether you are wanted to learn it transformation using Excel, using Google Sheet, using Power BI, or how you can transform the things in SQL. Transformation in SQL is little difficult, but here in Power BI, you can easily transform it with the help of Power Query Editor. So my funda for this lecture would be more often being giving you an idea how you can work on different technologies, different platforms to work around it. And when we need to think about using Google Sheet, Excel, when we need to think about Power BI, when we need to think about SQL, at what stages. Okay. So clear cut, Power BI is more having a good advantage in terms of transforming the data. Here, the transformation means converting the raw data into clean format. Why clean? We always get the final insight, final patterns, final best information from the clean data. Otherwise, there is something called as prediction. There is something called as insights. We cannot find it well. So I'm giving a rating to this. So Power BI is having a Power Query Editor as a one of its tool. Power Query Editor having one its tool. I'll guide you how does it looks and all these things. I'll give you the practical usage of this as well. Don't worry. So Power BI having a Power Query Editor tool, which is a backend for Power BI for transforming a data. Think about it, it works. Like at some stage it works. Like you have a raw data, you have a clean data, it's being transformed. With this clean data, what is the next step? Now, with this clean data, you can work around with 2 stages. You have 2 stages to work around. What are the 2 stages you have? One is you can find insights, you can find patterns, and take data driven decisions. So how you can take a data driven decisions? It's more likely you being connected with a visualization. So with the help of clean data, you can go with one step, which is visualization. You can create a dashboard on it. Like creating a dashboard would be taught in Power BI. You can create a report on it. It's also considered to be as a what we say dashboard only. So this visualization have a dashboard and reports which helps you to visualize the things. As we all guys know that images speaks better than words. If we have a raw data, we cannot find much useful information by seeing raw informations. It always be useful to see an images. Like if you are a big fan of cricket, I always see after 10 overs, after drink breaks, we will get a review of where the previous team is being graphed and how much the new team, which is currently being playing, whether they are being coming up with that much of score or not. There is a line graph showing out. There is a bar graph showing out, which is showing you the results of each one of the individual over, what are the runs they have made. So everything is visualized so the customer or the other end, the audience will understand it, and that's why they enjoy the cricket. If they show all the data in vain, like raw data, like this player has done this is just like Crickbuzz and all, this is more like a raw data. Can I convert that raw data some meaningful content? Yes. For that meaningful content, we always use visualizer. In Power BI, we have more than visuals, third-party visuals, and so many things. We can do it. Apart from that, we have another part which is something like this, where instead of visualizations, we can also do something like prediction. Okay. So for predicting the things, prediction and everything is being done using like data models, using machine learning, deep learning, even using Python, EDA, using feature engineering. So in the predictions, we can work around with finding some forecast, like weather forecast or anything. We can predict many like many things related to weather, many things related to any forecasting with the data series things. So here we are just finding the things with date series world and would like to predict the things more with a clean data. So I'm just writing a data series and we are working on forecasting the things and so on. So I hope you understand the basic idea what data analysts do. They are converting the raw data into cleaning one. With the cleaning, they will have an insight pattern and predictions on it. Two things is clear. Yes, no. Can you reply, guys? Yes, no. Guys, your interaction would be like needed if you wanted to learn a lot. Only one person has replied. Others, please reply. If you are actively listening, please reply. Cool. So now comes the part where we just try to introduce different technologies and what they offer. Like I'll start with Google Sheet or Excel. Like you always need to understand that they both are a spreadsheet. One is offline, one is online. Google Sheet is backed by Google. Excel is backed by Microsoft. Excel needs to be come up with your system. Either you have an Excel, otherwise you need to use a crack version. But Google Sheet is available everywhere. It's a cloud based. You just need to have a Gmail account and you can start with it. And both are having the same thing. You just have the understanding of Google Sheet and Excel, what they offer, just try to understand. So with Google Sheet, we can work around with formulas and functions. We can create many calculations on it, formula and functions. And in the functions, we can use advanced functions where we are started with if, like creating a conditions like if it is done, if it is not done, true and false condition. Then we have something like sum, average, max, min. These are some aggregated functions, max, min, and so on. And with that, you can also apply some advanced functions with this, which is combination of functions we call as sum ifs, average ifs, and so on. So these are the things that you can do. The majority of the time, Google Sheet and Excel are being used in a dashboard for a smaller data set. If you are dealing with small data set, you can create a pivot table here. You can create a pivot table. You can create a charts for final thing. And finally, you can create a dashboards on it. On the other hand, I always recommend to choose, if you really want to represent the things in a dashboard format, always go with Power BI. Why Power BI? Power BI has a useful things to show and it has more visuals. Power BI is none other than any visuals. It has a specific purpose of it, which is more likely representing the data. Representing the data well in dashboard format, and it has so many visuals. So many visuals have been there, more visuals. Okay. You can add third-party visuals and so many things. So I'll give you some projects and all these things. Power BI itself can help you to get a package, good one. So I haven't introduced myself. Let me introduce now. So my name is Krishna Madan. I'm your instructor at some stage, and I'm being a like data scientist for the last 2 3 years. And before that, I've been a SD and instructor before that as well. So what I feel is cleaning the data and everything is good, but I have seen that Power BI itself can give you so many approachable like things where you can start with freelancing the work. You can start with projects where you have lot of industry coming up, and you can start with a Power BI developer at an initial stage as well. So even with a Power BI you can get a lot of roles. Even with SQL you get a lot of roles, and so on. So let me represent the data well in dashboards. So let's see what exactly we can do. I'm showing you some projects on Power BI that we can build it at after some stages. Just give me a moment. I have, just give me a moment. Okay. Uh, Let me just having a little of disturbance coming up. I have one order to become up. Sorry. So I'll just show you one project, which is a very awesome project where which we gonna create it at later stages. But for creating that project, that requires a lot of uh, immense knowledge of Power BI, which is something like this. We are creating this Adventure Works dashboard at some stage where we have the revenue figure, profit figures, orders, and returns. So if you observe this dashboard at a clear stage, let me just take a screenshot and guide you properly. So this dashboard is where we considered Power BI at its peak. Like why peak? Just a second. Just give me a moment. I'm coming in. 1 minute. Okay. So let's come back with the topic. Let me give you a brief. Here, if you observe this carefully, you get to know that majority of your things that can be defined in a Power BI cannot be defined well on Google Sheet or Excel. Google Sheet is more often being considered to be cleaning part where we can just perform our cleaning things done. And here we can just perform some formula and functions and see what type of information being given a form in a tabular storage. But on the other hand, we wanted to transform the data. We wanted to show the things more visual to the analytical team where they can take a decisions on it. So if we as a person representing the data, we always want to show some KPIs. These are the scorecards. We call it as a scorecards that are the KPIs or key performing indicators of a particular brand. Let's take an example of an adventure works. We have bike and shop. It's more likely representing a revenue, profit, orders, and return rate as per an individual one. And if you observe this carefully, these are the figures coming up for the one who can being an investor, who can being a founder, who can being a director, who can take a decision by just viewing this. And whenever we show a dashboard, we always would like to show the dashboards at top right corners. Why? So first row will always be showing the dashboards having all the KPIs or the key performing indicators, how your business is running, how much revenue you have come up, how much profit you have gained, how many orders you have picked up, and how many returns being reaped. So return rate less than 3%, 5% is very awesome in terms of a brand as an e-commerce platform. Then we have a granular level details. This is like a revenue trending based on what we say month series wise data, time series data. It would be represented with month wise, quarter wise, year wise. Many companies would like to see the data in year on year records, month on month records, quarter on quarter, and so on. Then we have something like a KPIs on monthly figure. These KPIs are representing this with our previous stage. Like this is the earning for this month and what we have earned in the previous month. This is the monthly order that we have achieved and what is we have achieved previous month. And if it is showing in red color, it basically means it highlights that previous month we have more than this month. So still we have something to achieve. If it is green or a neutral color, it signifies that we need to achieve. And this is red means we need to improve our number of orders. So our previous month order is greater than this. That's why it is highlighted with red. If it is not greater than that, if our current month order is greater than our previous month order, we say, yes, it's perfect going on. Our current month is achieving a 10 on 10% year growth. We can just apply the formulas on it. Then we have a order by category representing another visuals where we are dealing with only 3 categories in this data set: accessories, bikes, and clothing. And based on that, we are just checking the number of orders being coming up. And the last stage where we have a visuals, which is a metrics, where we are taking a top 10 products by applying a filter and then checking the orders, revenue, and returns quantity. And this is where we are just taking the filtration on number one product, which is having a lot more tables or most order being coming up and most return being coming up. So these are the 2 tables. So what next? So if you observe this, we are providing the things on different stages. First, we talk about the executive dashboards. Then we move towards our map view. Map view will show you all the sales figure, revenue figures coming up from different maps. And these are we call as slicer. What do you mean by slicer? It means you can apply a filter at any point of time. Then we have product detail. Product detail is another part where you can just perform the product wise informations coming up. Then we have customer wise information coming up and so on. So this type of visuals can well stored in a Power BI. So I recommend Power BI while you wanted to create a more visuals on it. Apart from that, you can create or you can work on something called a DEX. DEX here is useful as I give you a full form like data analysis expression. What does they do? What does they do? They basically allow you to work on what? They basically allow you to work on complex calculation. You can perform complex calculation. And why we require this complex calculation? Can anybody think about it? Why we require, whenever we were solving anything in terms of dashboard, some parameters or some columns are not present in our data set. So we need to manually create it to get the things done. So if you have any idea related to stocks, do you guys have any idea related to stocks? Or have you guys watched a normal web series or internet pay? It is like, we call it as Shark Tank. Have you guys watched this Shark Tank at once? एक भी episode देखा है? Like any one episode if you have watched, let me know. Shark Tank, yes, no? Yes, no, guys. Guys, you need to write in the chat if you are serious to learn. Either you say no, either you say one. Like maybe 0 or 1, maybe yes or no. But at least let me know if you have watched it once or not, so that I have an idea what does this Shark Tank is. It's like people come to show their investment to someone, and the sharks are the one who give the investment based on their profit figures, based on their EBITDA, based on PAT, which is profit after tax and all these things. Have you watched these things? Watch an episode of a Shark Tank at any point of time in your life? Yes, no, guys. See, nobody here is you to like, nobody here will judge you. You need to write yes or no. It's very clear. If you haven't watched it, you say no, so that I have an idea, so that I can give you a more realistic example as well. If you do not know the Shark Tank, I'll give you another example, but at least let me know. Guys, can you write? Just let me know, guys. No idea? Okay. No idea on Shark Tank? No issues. Now we gonna move to another website so that I can guide you how the. Okay. Do you guys know stock market? Basic of stock market? How stock market works? how we as an investor, as a retail investor, have a faith that whenever we are buying some stock of any company, we can get to know that this company is good enough to get the results. Any idea on stock market? Can I take the example of a stock market? Yes, cool. So we have few websites to show. Like one we have is Screener and another is Ticker Tape. Anyone you can take. Here you can search for any stock. Let's suppose it's not a recommendation, but I can just searching for MRF. So MRF is at all-time high 1,25,000. But can you observe these things where we have a market cap which is 53 crore, stock P, some another filter on observation of 27.3, ROC, and all these things. Sometimes this information is being present in a balance sheet. Sometimes this needs to be calculated by some formulas. Like what are the dividend being come up? What are the P ratio being coming up? What are the sales quarter being coming up? Quarter sales, ROC, all these things. So they are not in depth, or we do not need to learn in depth in the financial terms, but understand these things. When they put a tax, what are the values being coming up after tax? What are the EPS? What are the raw PDF? Everything is being given to them, and we need to manipulate by finding out the profit loss, their income level, interest, tax percentage, and all these things. So what do you mean by this? That means that at some stage, you need to require a DEX to create a specific column that helps you to create your dashboards that you desire to build, that you showcase the insights from your dashboards which do not have an existing column. That means if I just take an example, we have a column which consists of two new columns, like a random column. This is a column related to product. Okay. In this product table, I have two columns that needs to be there. Or instead of product, I'm taking a new column name or a table name sales. Observe this carefully, very important. We have two new columns that represent a quantitative data. One is giving me the order quantity. Okay. And another is giving me something called as product price. Now you let me know, how can I get the revenue figure? Can anybody let me know how can I get the revenue figure? What is the revenue for my company? Is that particular revenue figure is being given in my particular table or a data set? No. If it is not being present in my data set, what can I do? I can create a new column with something called as a new column, which is something like sales, a new column with the sales or something more likely a revenue. But this is not actually a revenue. It's a sales column only. Revenue would be the sum of sales. So what does we say? We have a random order quantity being given like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 2, 3, 4, 1, random numbers. And then we have a product price like $10, $20, $30, $40, 50, 60, 100, 200, $10 again, 200 again. So how you can calculate this? This is a product price coming up from this place. Is the second column. Okay. I can write simply like this, product price. So if you observe this order quantity and this product price needs to be multiplied to calculate the sales, do we say yes? This needs to be multiplied to to create a new column that is a calculated columns that we calculate based on some scenarios. So here the sum is 10, here it is 40, not 30, it is 40, and so on. 90, 160, 250, then 120, 300, 800, and 10. Okay, I just mismatched the numbers. You just check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5 and 9. So we do not require any 200 in it. That's it. So now this is my sales as per my quantity multiplied by product price. So what is my revenue? Revenue is the sum of all the values above. So some XYZ value would be coming and that would be my revenue. Can we say yes, no? This would be my revenue. Yes, guys. Yes, no, guys. So this revenue, do I have been given a revenue in my data set? No. I've been calculating these things along the way. That means sometimes in a dashboard, whatever you wanted to show, they do not exactly being present. We do not have a profit. We do not have an order quantity. We do not have a revenue figures. We need to calculate with the help of DEX. That is something like finding a formulas or writing the formulas to create. After all of these things, we are done with relating the DEX. But majority of the time in your interview, the interview will ask you two things. What are the two things? In Power BI specifically, They will ask you a concept of data modeling. Okay, and they will give you another concept which is DEX. These are the two concepts they will taught you, and this is the way they will ask you the questions on it. Now understand these two things, very important it is. I'm just giving a brief. When we are just understanding the project much more in depth, we'll create each one of the things well. Data modeling is something having working on a schema. What do you mean by schema? Schema is where you are handling your database, where you have multiple tables, not in a merge table, they have multiple tables, and we wanted to create that multiple table to be stored with some relation. What do you mean by that? Let's suppose this is an Amazon schema. You know Amazon e-commerce website. What is the information being given to this? It has something like a product information. It has another table that consists of a customer table, another table which is having a information of sales record, and the last table that is having a something record of territory. Territory means which territory that particular country or particular region they are selling. It can be India, it can be US, UK, and any other way. So in the product table, we have product information. We have customer table having customer information, sales table having sales information, and so on. Each one of the table should consist of, like this, should consist of a primary key, which is product ID, let's suppose. I'm writing it product ID this way. This is also contained any customer key. So I'm just writing customer key like this way. So these are the primary key available on this table. Okay, another here it is territory key or territory ID representing individual unique territory key. And in the sales record, we have all these things. All these things with a different name as well, or with the same name, there is no issues. But now if you observe, just try to observe, sales data is a transactional record. Sales in data in actual is a transactional record which consists of not even a single primary key, but they are consist of a foreign key. Okay. And this individual table of product, customer, and territory would consist of what? These are the three individual tables which consist of primary key, so that the data would not be repeated and each table would have its unique data set being available on it. Are you guys getting it? That these are the three different tables which have a unique primary key present, like product ID is the primary key for product table, customer key is the customer key is a primary key for customer table, and territory ID is a primary key for this table. So what does this primary key and foreign key will do? First functionality of primary key, I'm writing it here just because I will teach you much more in depth. It's just like an overview I'm giving it. So primary key is more likely how you can get an understanding of it. It's make sure that there is no redundant data. It makes sure that there is no redundant data. What do you mean by redundant data? That means there is no duplicate present in your data set. It should be a unique value defining each product. Like if it is having a 101, that means 101 is a unique product key which is having its corresponding product name. Like let's suppose bike one, maybe any random bike. Product key changed to 102 and another product is being defined for 102. And each product key is defining each individual product without having any duplicate data. And another use case of primary key is your data set cannot contain null. Data set can't having null values. This is another important of it. Now you imagine one thing, just try to imagine one thing. It's very important to imagine this thing. Like, would it be possible for us to store every possible columns in this way, in a single table? I wanted an answer from your end. Just let me know. Would it be possible for us to store every individual column in a single table? Like I would like to store product ID, all the product ID. Like instead of product ID, I would like to store product table in a single table, product information, all the columns of product table, all the columns of customer table. Okay. And all the columns of sales record, everything in a single table. Does it being useful? Let me know. Like storing all the information in a single table is not much useful just because while running something, let's suppose you wanted to have some specific informations to run. This much of column you required and others are unnecessary columns being coming up. So it is less efficient. Why less efficient? Just because it's taking your time. It's less efficient. It's taking your space as well. less efficient. Yes, just check the spelling of efficient. Less efficient and taking a high computational power. High computational power. Do we say yes, no, guys? I feel whenever we are storing the information in a merge table with all the information of all the columns being coming in a single table, whenever we are writing a query or whenever we wanted to solve any purpose, individual table would take a lot of space. Along with that, individual take a lot of time as well. So it is less efficient. Why so? So I wanted to get an information of product and sales. I want this much of tables column, but unnecessary this columns which we do not need in our final insights are being coming again and again. That's a wastage of time and space as well. But what we can do, if I need to check which are the customer who buy which product with the help of sales record, can we get this three connected together with the help of primary key and a foreign key? And then finding an insight would be easy for me. Rather than storing all the information in a single table, can I store individual tables having its unique data? Like product table will store only the product, customers data will store only the customer records, territory will take care of all the countries figures and all, and sales will make sure that the transactional records have been coming daily basis. Like if any customer has bought any product, I do not need to write customer name, product name, whom they are buying. I just simply write customer ID and the product ID, and other information I can hide it. Just because if I really want to check, I can check it from different stage. See this data set. Observe this data set. We have a table. In this table, we have customer lookup. In the customer lookup, we have a customer key. This customer key is uniquely representing a customer on the data set. Then we same have product lookup, which represent each product key is defining each unique product. If you observe this carefully, 215 is representing a helmet. 253 is representing a road frame. It's a bike component. Then we have random one like 332 is a road 650cc bike. And then we have 348, it's a mountain 100cc bike and so on. And if you go ahead with something like this, 409 mountain frame, unique one. But as I go to the sales record, observe this carefully. As I go to the sales data, I only being given a product key, customer key, and territory key. So if I really want to know, if I really want to know which product has been bought by who's, like which customer, which product has been bought by which customer, do I have been given in a sales record any customer name, any product name? No, I do not need it. Why I do not need it? I can only find the customer key and its product key. So first, let's see 360. What do you mean by 360? Let's see the product 360. What exactly the 360 product is? I can go here. I can find somewhere here. 360 is a mountain bike of black color having 42-inch alloy wheel, something like this. Okay. Mountain 200. I get the product name. I get the detail as well. I get the description as well. So it's more likely, what is the description of that bike? Let me go. Let me find it here. 360, I guess we are working on. Yeah, Swati, you can ask me in between. Are you saying something? I'm not heard, like I'm not getting you if you are saying something, Swati. Okay. So 360 is a product key which is having a description being given, product SKU, product name, model name, everything is being given. Do I all these columns do I need in a final stage? I don't think so. It's because it's take a lot of column, increasing the file size, and it will be less efficient while running a query or while running some insights and taking a high computational stage. My system will take a high computational power to run that thing. Now, if it is having a 13,000 records, even if you see in the customer table, we have almost 18,000 records. So adding further columns of 18,000 records into that much of column, if I add 5 columns into 18,000 records, is huge. And it is taking my computational power of my system now. So it will take a lot of things to run. Apart from that, when I go back to the sales record, I get to know product lookup having product 360 key is nothing but a bike. And if I go back to this 360, I get to know buy and who has purchased this. Just having a customer key, I get all the information 12570. So can I go to 12570 where we have customer key 12570. I need to search, but it's not that difficult. You can just apply a filter over here and there is no search key being coming up. So I can just go it here 12750 something. It's 12. So right now I cannot apply a filter just because it's been giving me 1,000 records and I have almost 18,000 customer being there. So we need to apply it where I can search for customers as well. So for a time being, with the help of any customer key, we have first name, last name, its birth date. Every information is being given well to us. So there is no requirement of finding out the customer other columns on a sales record. So with the help of customer key, I can find out. With the help of territory key, I can find out which territory this particular sale is being coming from. So territory key 9 means I need to go to the territory table, which is having a primary key 9 and 9 representing an Australia. So this data or this sale is being coming from Australia and we have different territory key. I hope you're understanding these things well. If yes, let me know as well. Are you guys getting it or not? So with the help of relationships, I just mean to say that storing all the information in a single table doesn't make any sense. You are calling out unnecessary columns which take a high computational power and less efficient to work. It is better to store the information in a different individual table, and whenever you require, just merge them, build a relationships. How relationships would be built, I'm also wanted to show. This is a model view where we have all tables relationship coming up. You will see we have customer and all these things, and when you see this, all the relationship coming up well. I'll teach you when you are doing this project time of things. When we click on plus, I can check the individual layout at any moment. So let me just drop the territory lookup. I'll right click on it, add related tables. So we have territory lookup having sales and returns data. So there is a concept called as one is dimension table, other two are fact table. Those are the things that I'll teach you when we are actually learning the things in depth. And this is more likely a territory. It's a more likely a territory model view. Okay, I hope you get the Power BI, power of Power BI, what they can do. So I'll give you a small summary and then we'll move towards SQL. So Excel is being used to store the data in a tabular format. You can have a limited data set while working on it. You can create a dashboard. You can create a pivot table to summarize the data. Well easy. But when you're dealing with smaller data set, it's good. But as long as you're increasing the data set and dealing with a real-time story scenario where you're dealing with lakhs of records, Google Sheet has its limitation. So once we have a limitation on Google Sheet, we jump to the Power BI. And in the Power BI, we have lot more visuals to come up. We can add a third-party visuals from a play, like we have a Play Store in App Store in Apple, Play Store in Android. Same, we have a 3D market where we can purchase at free of cost. There are paid as well. At free of cost, we can purchase the visuals and we can create it. At some stage, you will see there is a website called as Ticker Tape. I would like to show you this thing. There is a website called as Ticker Tape. You will see in the good morning, after good morning, you will see each bank or each particular stock is showing how much result, what are the profit indicators, and everything is being coming by a scroller. This type of scroller is not actually present in our visuals. If you see it here, these are not present in the visuals having here, but they can be coming up from the third party visuals. If you really want to see, let me just show you. I have showed in another project. Let me give you an idea. How does this scroller works? And I hope you have seen the reels as well. Some reels where we are comparing the scores of cricketer scores, like who have played and who have made the scores in animated way, 3D animations, where comparison is being done between Virat Kohli, Sachin Tendulkar, and so many cricketers, and who are being constantly doing it over a time of period of time. So those type of things or visuals can also be shown on 3D visuals in the marketplace available on Power BI. So one thing I'll let you show you, like the same thing that we have in a ticker tape, we have in our final project as well. You will see each product is being coming at what are the revenue, what are the sales. This is also being coming up, and we have a 3D visuals, which is nothing but a scroller. Scroller is the one which is being added from a third party visuals. It's a more likely a app store things. And same, we have 3D animators, animated bar charts that I'll teach you in our project, and you will see these things here. In a rough one, you will see that they are doing a comparison and then checking over a time of period. I can just set the theme. I can just set the space of the speeds and everything on it. So I hope you understand how does it work. This is one animated one. And if we have a larger data set, we can create a lot more in it. We can create a lot more insights on it. And this type of visuals are not generally present in a Power BI. Like normal versions, you need to have a work email, download it, and get involved in having a third party visuals. Whenever we have an option of get more visuals, we can download it and use a lot of things on it. So I hope you understand this one as well. I'm closing this. I'm closing Power BI as well for a timing. and you get to know the basic idea of how Power BI and Google Sheet works. Do you say yes, no? Guys, getting it? So Power BI has a lot more functionality where we can create the dashboard at its own larger stage, and that's how things works. Now comes the SQL. SQL is where we have a database, and we generally try to use a SQL in relational database management system. So first I'll try to give you an idea what is relational database management system, and then I'll teach you what is SQL is. So relational database management system is nothing but RDBMS. Okay. And this type of RDBMS only works with different softwares or a tool. Like we have different tools like MySQL, which we're gonna teach. We have different like SQL Server, we have SQLite, etc. Like we have many things, Oracle, database, and PostgreSQL. Okay, many things we have. Now, what does they actually do? And what do you mean by relational database management system? Try to understand this way. Like we have three different tables. Okay. And if I just try to give you an idea, what are the three different tables? I'm just taking an e-commerce example where we have product table, we have sales data, and we have something like returns data. Now try to observe this thing. Like in order to work on RDBMS concept, they need to be related with each other. There is a primary key here, which is product ID. There is a foreign key here, which is a product ID. And here also product ID. So product ID, if you observe here and here, they are acting as a foreign key. And here they are acting as a primary key. I'm writing it PK, primary key here acting as a primary key. Here it is acting as a foreign key. I hope you have the basic understanding of foreign key and a primary key. Otherwise, I'll taught you like more in depth. What do you mean by this? Within a minute, give me a moment. For a time being, try to understand. Primary key are the one which is having in the product table, which stores all the informations uniquely. That means in this table, we have our inventory, which is showing not the number of values we have. It is showing each product as its unique identity, which is product key. Same like you have a primary key. Primary key is more likely a identity, which makes sure that you do not have a duplicate names. What do you mean by that? You being a college student, you being a employee of any companies, you have been given an employee ID, you have been given a college ID. Your enrollment number in a college ID shows that even if a class has 5 similar names, like Aman, Rahul, maybe any other name, they might be having a similar name, but just because of their unique ID, which is primary key, which is nothing but their enrollment number. Our Aadhaar card is our primary key to identify whom we are. And same in the employee ID in the companies, we have employee ID to signifies that even if I have a same name of 2 people or 5 people, we have a unique identity to represent which employee ID is doing what and from where team they are. So we can just having a removal of duplicate entries with the primary key. On the other hand, product ID is being here and here as well. They are the foreign keys, but they are being repeated n number of times. Why they are being repeated n number of times? The only reason is this product ID and this product ID is being sometimes being repeated in the transactional records. That means a one product is being considered as one product. Like let's suppose I'm giving an idea. Here, take an example: 101 Apple iPhone, 102 Samsung smartphone, any like I'm just like S22, S24 Ultra. Okay, I'm specific with the model. You can specific with anyone. So these two things is being once being present in a product table, but in a sales record, many customers can buy this, like 100 sales being coming up for Apple and 500 sales being coming up for Samsung. So this product ID being repeated n number of times. So when they are repeated, they cannot be considered as a primary key. They are repeated. They are a foreign key. And when they're a foreign key, they help us to merge these two tables with a cardinality of one to many. Now you can say, it's like, what is the cardinality means here? One to many, what does you mean by this? So we have in actual a relationship to build or merge different tables. So merging table requires cardinality to merge. A cardinality terms is not that difficult. Requires cardinality to merge. And we have 4 types of relationship exist: one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. Okay, so these are the four relationships that is being exist, and we just need to make sure how the one to one, many to many works. Here, our product ID is being not repeated. It's unique. If it is unique, we have one information at one stage, unique data, so it's representing one. And here in the sales record, our Apple iPhone is being like sold out for a single day 100 times. On a next day, it's again 100 times. So overall, it's 200 times. If we are taking a span of 2 years, it's more than 1,000 times, lakhs time. So they are being repeated. When they are repeated, so we are connecting them with one to many relationships. Same here. The returns can be come up, like some customers would not like the product. They wanted to return. So they would be having call out with the information being stored in a returns table, having a product ID to just signify which product is being returned. It can be a number of quantity, but which product is being returned is being repeated twice, thrice, n number of times. So when it is n number of times, it's one to many relationships. And this is our another table, and how the merging is being done. And this is where you understand, in order to work around with, a table, we need to join the table whenever needed. Whenever I want the product table to be connected with sales or returns data, I need to join it. So in joining, we have 2-3 concepts in joining, like left join, right join, third is inner join, and fourth one is full outer join or full outer join. Now, how does this work? Let's try to understand this one as well. Why we require joining? We require joining to find a useful insight from different tables. Whenever we want a joining, we require information from different tables. So if you have gone through with your elementary mathematics, you have understand some concepts of Venn diagram. So to introduce joining, you understand Venn diagram at least. Yes, no, just let me know. We have a Venn diagram, which we have a table. Let's suppose we wanted to merge two tables. This can be repeated for 3, 4, 5, n number of tables. There is no restriction of joining any number of tables. We can take n number of tables. How much data you can merge it, you can have it. So these are the 4 different tables. Let's suppose I say I wanted to apply left join. So as a Venn diagram, what do you think? This is my table A. Okay. This would be my table B, as obvious. These are the 2 tables I have, and I'm just consistent with the table's name all the side. So I'm copying and pasting somewhere here, one more here, and one more here. Okay. Now just try to understand left join. What do you mean by left join? We have a left table, we have a right table. Left join means all the tables having all the values of left table coming up. Okay. Along with some common values of this, because left table needs to be come up. It excludes the right table, but common values needs to be included just because they are the part of left table as well. Someone is writing Mohammad Rabina Sheikh, data from left join and common data from A and B. Good, very good. That is the interaction I really want. Now, if you are understanding the left join, we can also understand the right join as well. Right join is or simple. Similar to what we have a vice versa of it. Right join means all the columns of right side would be coming up, including the common part. It's not that tough. Okay, I'm just giving you a brief. We'll go each one of it, and in the sequel, I'll try to give you a one project, which is Instagram project, which is endless. In your resume, it would be shining a lot. After this, we have something called as inner join. What do you mean by inner join? Inner join itself is a simple term. In terms of this, we write A intersection B. A intersection B. If you understand the like Venn diagram, you understand where the Just a second, guys. I'm disconnected. I'm joining it one more time. I'm calling it from my phone. Okay. So this is where we have, I'm in a thought that I'm audible well. Okay. So full join is more likely a Venn diagram, which is A union B. It is more likely A union B. And that means we always want the complete data set to be coming up. And when in practical usage, if I try to teach you what is inner join applied of this, I need to do with a practical usage, how we can describe it, how we can work on it. So this is more likely all the tables of along with left table, right table, common part, everything needs to become in a full join. So next part. Next part is why we actually required a MySQL language, one of the language you required. I'm considering MySQL here, but why there is a requirement of it? Just try to understand this one. It's very easy. You have two things. This is something called as your application. Okay. Your app, anything, any website. And this is something called a database. Now I would like to ask you, would it be possible for us to directly interact with database? Yes, no, you can write in the chat if it is possible. What do you think? Do we have any possibility that we can directly connect with a database? No. We cannot have any website, any application cannot have a direct interaction with database. So how we can interact? So we required an intermediary, which we called as DBMS. We required an intermediary, which is called as DBMS. You know the full form of DBMS, database management system. Yes, database management system. In this DBMS, we wanted a application to connect with DBMS, which is an intermediary, and with the DBMS, they can connect with a database and vice versa. Whatever the database is responding, they are responding to the DBMS, and with that DBMS, we are getting the results coming back to our client or someone who wanted to see. Who is lying in DBMS? So these are the common language which exist are your DBMS or RDBMS language. DBMS, RDBMS are the same. Just RDBMS means having a relationship between multiple tables to create a schema. So we generally prefer to work on MySQL. Why? MySQL is the one which is commonly being asked in the interviews, and MySQL is the one which is being giving you a much role. And after learning SQL, which is having a software which you are using is MySQL Workbench, we can start applying for a role which is DBA. Nothing but kya hota DBA as a specification. It's a database administrator. You can apply for this role. Just check the spelling of administrator and this. In the MySQL, we just need to write a query, very easy query to run. Along the way, when we are just creating a table, inserting the data, how we can fetch the data, how we can filter out the things, we can need to learn each one of the syntax more in depth. And if you learn MySQL, switching between SQL Server, SQLite, Oracle, PostgreSQL is just understanding the syntax of that particular language. Other than that, it's way easy. You need to learn concept of any one software like MySQL or anything, any one DBMS, and you can switch between any point of time at any stage. I have many students who have been placed on MySQL, learning MySQL itself, and so many technologies other as well. But with the help of MySQL, one of the student is in the TSYS in Noida, and he is earning almost 10.5 lakh with this. And one of my students who is earning 8.5 LPA, they are being coming just getting a placement from as a Power BI developer. As a Power BI developer, he is earning 8.5 LPA at Pune, and his name is Akash. You can just search it in the LinkedIn. And here in the like many people I have placed, but few of them I know just because they have been replied to me that I'm going placed, like I get placed. And in SQL, there is one name is Nikhilesh. He is working in Noida. You can just search on LinkedIn, and he is working on a TSYS company at 10.5. I guess it's almost having a hike as well, but with the help of SQL. So they have a lot more potential in the market to gain and earn a lot more things. I'll share this notes if you require. I've given you the brief idea how, although I recommend instead of Excel, like not many system would have Excel downloaded. I would rather teach Google Sheet, which is having lot more insightful things that Excel can perform. And same thing we do with Power BI, and same thing we do with SQL, where we are working on MySQL Workbench, which is easy to download free of cost. There is no requirement on it. And we need to solve every possible things that we need to work. In Power BI, we are creating this final end-to-end project using AI visual as well, using n number of third-party visuals. In Google Sheet, we're gonna create a dashboards on Amazon sales record, Amazon sales dashboard, and something like Swiggy, and one more if you want, Flipkart mobile or Flipkart sales. Like 2 3 we can create Netflix or something, but after that you need to create it by your own. It's just like I provide you the data set and you are very much like excel on it to create it by your own. Power BI, one project we do, another project we will give you the homework. It's Netflix or maybe EV manufacturing or maybe banking system, whatever the data set you like to. Apart from that, in DBMS we just try to work around in our Instagram project with very awesome project, very awesome project. So that's it for my side. I hope you learned something valuable. If you have further queries, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you still have been connected with this, we can have a sessions on further stages. So if you have any queries, if you have anything to ask, you can ask in the chat. You can ask by unmuting yourself and try to be more interactive if you really want to learn a lot more things. If you really want to learn a lot more things, you just need to remove that barrier between your educator and these things, and you need to ask every possible things on a daily basis. How much you interact, that much, the level you interact, the level you learn. The more you interact, the more you learn. The less you interact, the less you learn. It's always be like vice versa, like directly proportional. It's up to you how much you want to interact. And think about this way, that nobody is here you to judge. If you are thinking like my friend will judge me this way, that way, nobody is here to judge you. If you are in a learning phase, try to be humble and start learning it in that way. So I hope you understand this well. That's all from my side. Bye bye. Have a nice day.